You don't need a luxury kitchen to prepare gourmet meals. My name is Dennis. I live in a mobile home in a trailer park, and this is my kitchen. What I am going to do today is I'm going to correct an error. Julia Child used to say that when you make a mistake in the kitchen, just pretend that it was your intention all along to do something different. People don't need to know. Well, what I had done is I started out today to make a caramel date cake, an upside down caramel date cake. So I shot my introduction, started making my cake. But what you're going to see is that I made a mistake. I used twice the amount of butter that I should have used in my caramel topping. So what I ended up with was a toffee rather than a caramel. And when I tasted it, I thought, this tastes more like a toffee than a caramel. Well, when I realized I made a mistake, then I decided, okay, I'm going to go back and reshoot the introduction, and I'm going to change the name of this to an upside down toffee date cake. You're going to need some dates, obviously. If you can find them pitted already, that'll save you some work. You're going to need 14 to 20 of them to kind of decorate the top. I need to quarter these lengthwise after I pit them. I have a pound here. I'm estimating this is going to be way more than enough. Let's say 10 to 12 ounces, 283 to 340 grams should be enough. I'm going to pit all of these and cut them up. And then whatever I don't use, that's for nibbles. So I'm just going to start off by cutting them right through in half. There's the pit that I want to remove. And then divide these lengthwise into long pieces. These are Medjool dates, by the way. I've got a saucepan heating over medium heat, and I'm going to put into that 1 cup packed, which is about 200 grams of golden brown sugar, and 1/2 cup, 4 ounces, 113 grams of unsalted butter. I want to whisk this once this gets warm enough to get that butter all melted. So that's going to take a minute or two. Right now you can see it's still sticky, but it's getting there. Okay, that's very nice. That didn't take long at all. Now, I want to put into that 1.5 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. And now a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So there is my mixture. I'm going to turn the heat off. That all got bubbly and started to thicken a little bit. I've lined a 9-inch, 23-centimeter cake pan with a piece of parchment paper, and I'm going to put about 2/3 of this, roughly, into that cake pan. I'm not going to work that anymore because as I do, I'm making a mess. So now I'm going to let this cool now, and then I can start putting my dates in there. How you choose to decorate this is up to you, but what you want to do is you want to press the dates into that caramel. So you see what I'm doing here. I want to do this the long way because I'm going to be cutting it with a knife. So when I say the long way of the dates pointing toward the center, and the outside of the date is the part that I'm putting down, pressing into the caramel / toffee, whatever that is. Okay, so you see what I'm doing here. This is going to take me a while to finish this up, And again, this is why I wasn't sure how much date to use, how many dates. It all depends upon how many you can fit in here to decorate it the way you want. The original recipe wanted them to go around in concentric circles, but I thought it would be nice to work with them this way. So there now is the top of my cake. I counted the pieces that I have in here, and total I used about 10 dates. You can see I got a lot left over. These were large Medjool dates. So the recipe called for 14 to 20. I used 10 dates. If you have smaller dates, you can probably get more in there. But this leaves me a lot for snacking. And it's a good thing these are healthy for you. Into a medium bowl, I want to sift 1 3/4 cups. This is 9 ounces, 250 grams of cake flour. And then 1 teaspoon each of baking powder and baking soda. And finally, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then you just want to sift this all together. Like so. There it is. That's my sifted ingredients. I have to cream together 1/2 cup, 1 stick, 4 ounces, 113 grams of unsalted butter. This is at room temperature. And looking at this, I realized that I used twice as much butter than I was supposed to when I did the caramel syrup. No wonder it tasted like a toffee syrup. I doubled the butter. So now I'm thinking it tasted so good, I'm going to change the name of this cake to an upside down toffee date cake. I mean, when life hands you lemons, make lemonade, right? So I have to go back and reshoot the introduction, but that's okay. But that's where this is coming from. I made a mistake. So there is my butter. Again, that's at room temperature. And then I have 1/2 cup of regular white granulated sugar. That's 100 grams. And 1/4 cup packed, 50 grams of golden brown sugar. And now I need to cream these together. I'm using my stand mixer. The first thought that occurred to me was use my electric drill, as I've done in the past, but I thought, nah, today I'm going to follow convention. So I need to just cream these together until it's nice and smooth and has a nice whipped look to it. My butter is creamed together very nicely. I need to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So I'm going to use my eyedropper bottle here. I know each one of these is 1/4 teaspoon. So I need 4 of those. So there's a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then I want to add 2 eggs, but 1 at a time. These are large eggs. I'm breaking these into a bowl first, just in case I get any shell in there. I can take it out before I put my egg in there. So I'm going to bring this back up again, start this going, and I'm going to whip in 1 egg, then my second egg, till they're both combined well in there. Now I want to start adding my flour. This is nice flour that I sifted earlier, and I have 2/3 of a cup of buttermilk. I want to put about 1/3 of my flour in, half my buttermilk, 1/3 of my flour, the remainder of my buttermilk, remainder of the flour. So that's kind of how I'm going to do this. Oh, and in the meantime, I have been heating my oven up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 177 degrees Celsius. I'm not going to measure this. I'm just going to calculate that that's about 1/3. Get that mixed in and then add my buttermilk. So there is my pan with my dates and my toffee topping. And there's my cake batter, nice and fluffy. So I'm just going to transfer that to my cake pan. I'm getting excited about this. I don't make cakes, and I'm trying to get better at cakes. I'm trying to understand the chemistry of cakes. A little bit more in there. And then I'm just going to position this around, get it distributed evenly. As I've mentioned, I'm heating my oven up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 177-ish Celsius. And I'm going to bake this for 50 minutes. I want to see it nice and golden on the top. And I actually use a digital thermometer when I check like bread and baked things. When it comes up to 190 degrees Fahrenheit, which is close to 100 degrees Celsius. What's that, about 97 degrees Celsius, 96? Then I know it's done in the inside. Okay, no need to get too fussy. I'm not frosting the cake. So now this is ready to go into the oven. Again, this is going to bake for 50 minutes. Okay. There it is. Ooh. Right out of the oven. So I need to let that cool about 15 minutes on the rack in the pan. Then I can put a plate on top, invert the whole thing over, and we'll see how my upside down toffee date cake came out. Oh, by the way, I checked the internal temperature of this. It was just above 190 degrees. It was like 191, 192 degrees Fahrenheit. 190 is 88 degrees Celsius. My cake now has been cooling for 15 minutes. It's still quite hot, but I think I can transfer this. So with a plastic knife, so that I don't scratch the non-stick coating. See, that pan is still a little hot to the touch. I'm going to go around the edge here and separate the cake from the pan. I did grease the walls of this pan. Okay, that should be okay. And hopefully I can do this without burning myself. I'm going to put a plate on top and then invert this. Okay, here comes the tricky part. Pull the pan off. Ta-da! And look at that. Now see, that was one of the things that I noticed in the instructions. It said if any of the dates stick inside of the pan, transfer them over to the cake. Nothing stuck. And the reason why is because I used parchment paper, which is ideal for this. So there is my beautiful date cake. Gosh, that looks gorgeous. So now I'm going to let this cool down quite a bit more. And then I'll be ready to cut into this, garnish it, and see what it tastes like. Before I plate my cake here, I want to point out a mistake that I made, because it's always better to learn from somebody else's mistakes. That cake had a rounded top on it before I inverted it onto a flat plate, and as a result of that rounded top, when the outside of it kind of subsided down onto the plate, I got cracking in the middle of my cake. I should have trimmed that top off. I will be sure to make a note of that in my recipe. But right now I am ready to plate this. So I'm going to cut into this. looks good right here so far. Oh gosh, that looks beautiful. Gonna take some of the crumbs off that plate. And then what I have here is some freshly whipped cream. I'm gonna put that on one side so that it runs down onto the cake, onto the plate a little bit. And then that toffee syrup that I had reserved, I reheated that. So that it would be smooth and runny again. Look at that gooey, delicious delight. Doesn't that look fantastic? Now I want to see how this tastes. Doesn't that look incredibly good? Oh, I so want to taste this. Get some of my cream and my syrup. Oh, goodness, that is so delicious. That syrup, by the way, solidifies when it cools down. I don't know that I would put quite so much on next time. Very light, very delicate. So excuse me, I'm going to go enjoy my upside down toffee date cake. For a printable PDF copy of this recipe with step-by-step photographs, visit the White Trash Cooking website and look on the home page or in the recipe archive.